Hello fellow Earthlings, it's Libs, and today I'm going through all the books I read in April. I've read 7 books this month, which I'm very happy with. I've had a particularly good reading month. I have a surprising amount of 5-star books to talk about, which is exciting. Most of the books I read this month were reflective. Most of them were quite short, and it's a pretty even spread between fiction and non-fiction, which I'm excited about. One book I didn't read for pleasure, that was for study, so I'm going to gloss over that one. And then another book is one that I haven't finished yet, but I will be finishing today. And that is The Big Sleep by
5 minutes later.
Raymond Chandler. So I'm keen to finish that one. It's a book that inspired the film from the 40s with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. I have watched the film before, but it's kind of nonsensical because of the Hays Code, so I was keen to actually read the book and get a better understanding of what it's about. And so I'm reading that book for the Buzzword Reading Challenge. I was meant to be reading The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I have been reading it, but I haven't finished, and then I went away and I forgot to bring that book with me, so I am binge reading The Big Sleep. So I only had one 3-star read this month, and that is for a video that I don't think I've put out yet, but it was The Hole, which is a Korean short novella, and it's about this man who has been in an accident and he wakes up from a coma and he can't really move any part of his body, and it turns out his wife died in this accident, and the only family he has left is his mother-in-law. And as time goes on, he starts to become quite suspicious of his mother-in-law and what her intentions are. She is very controlling, controls when he goes to the doctor, controls who sees him, when his physical therapist comes, and is using all of his money to pay for all of this without asking him. So he's very suspicious of her and doesn't know what her intentions are. I liked this book, but I didn't love it. I think it was possibly just that little bit too short to actually go into detail about the themes it wanted to explore. It definitely had good qualities, but I don't know, it wasn't as exciting as I probably would have liked it to be, and I walked away not really knowing what was going on. So it's a cool little book, but it's not like a favorite of mine. The 4-star book I read this month was If I Have Your Face by Francis Cha. This is another Korean novel which kind of is exploring the beauty standards and how they affect women in Korea. I really enjoyed this book. It's told through 4 different main characters. One is a woman who works at a hair salon and is mute. One is an artist dating this really rich man. The 3rd woman is a sex worker, and the 4th is a pregnant married woman who lives in their building. And it explores how society treats them, the struggles that they are going through, and just so many different things. I think this book did a great job at exploring a lot of different kind of topics that all related to each other really well. I really enjoyed it. I honestly think there could have been a little bit more in the book. I'm not really sure why it's not a 5-star read for me. I just don't think it's necessarily going to stay with me forever, but it's definitely a very interesting book, and if it's one that's been on your radar, I would highly recommend reading it because it is fantastic. And the translation is really good as well. It's a really good book. Okay, the first 5-star book I read this month is for a video that will be coming out soon, and that is Come As You Are, which is a non-fiction book kind of about learning to accept yourself when it comes to sex, I think would be the best way to phrase it. It kind of goes into different issues that the author, who is a sex therapist, has heard women talk about, and kind of just goes into these things and understanding that you are normal. So it's a very, very cool book. I think it was written really well. It did a great job exploring the themes it wanted to explore. It wasn't condescending, and it wasn't trying to be overly lavish with the language, so it was really easy to understand. And I did enjoy the audiobook, but I think it's probably better to read a physical copy, because I think there are worksheets and things in there as well, which probably would have been cool to go through. But it's a fantastic book, and I gave it 5 stars. Another one of my 5-star reads is the first book I read this month, and that was One Last Stop. Now, no one is more surprised than I am that I read this book and that I loved this book. Like in the middle of last year, I wanted to do a trying reading romance books video, and it went so poorly that I never put it up. I think I only finished one book, and that was, what was that? I'll put a little picture here of whatever book that was that I did finish, but I couldn't get into the others, and I just decided to give up on that concept because I just didn't think I liked romance books even a little bit. But this one I loved. This one I absolutely loved. It's about this young woman who's just moved to New York. She finds an apartment to live in with 3 very cool, unique roommates, and she meets this woman on the subway, and this woman's always on the subway, and they start to form an attachment. And it turns out that this woman is from the 70s and has just kind of been stuck on the subway for 50 years. So it's about them figuring out how that happened. It's about them falling in love. It's about this young woman learning to have friends, and it gave me all the warm feelings. I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Best romance book I've ever read. I think my issue is not that I dislike romance. I like romance in books. I just don't seem to like books where the romance is like the entire point. I need something else, and I think having this kind of sci-fi element and all the friends and everything, it just made it so much better, and I loved it so much. And my final 5-star read of the month was Trick Mirror, which is a book everyone was talking about last year, but I didn't get around to reading it, so I finally read it this month. And I loved it as well. It's an essay collection kind of about feminism. The author's talking about when she was on a reality TV show as a teenager, and the internet, and assault on campus, and marriage, and different topics like that involving the media. And I thought it was brilliant. It was so well written. It was really relatable. I absolutely loved it, and I don't know what else I can say about an essay collection, but it was fantastic. And as with most of the books this month, I would highly recommend. Okay, so that is it for this video. I'm sure this location has been brilliant, but I wanted to wait until the last day of the month to film this to be sure of what I was actually gonna realistically finish reading this month, because I'm partway through quite a few books. I'm partway through Ways of Seeing, and I've also started The Great Circle, which has been shortlisted for the Women's Prize, and I think is probably going to win just based on the general discourse about the book. So yes, that is it for this month, and I will see you next time. Bye.